Hello, hello. Hey, it's gonna be a short stream. I didn't stream today because I was yesterday because I was celebrating someone's birthday. Oh, let me just bring the mic closer to me. It might be a short stream because I feel somewhat fatigued still because I was hanging out with people. I love my friends, but I don't. Being social makes me tired. So, and I don't know. I got 8 hours of sleep today, and I still feel tired. I don't know what's up with me. Guess it's just the hormones or something. Yes, I will never forget that. It happened in April of 1987. I received a certain strange request from a friend. There was a large collection of books, the former possessions of a very rich man, that were being sold at an auction. It was thought that some of them might have been extremely valuable to the study of archaeology and folklore as well as in an occult sense, so this friend wanted to witness their worth confidentially. That was 87, half a year after the crime on Rokkenjima. Correct. It was explained that those books had escaped the disaster in Rokkenjima. The owner of the island, Mrs. Ushiromiya Eba, had put them up for auction. This was apparently a high-class restaurant. A middle-aged man was sitting across from Angie in a secluded, quiet seat. Amakusa could be seen by the entrance. He was probably keeping a lookout for pursuers from the Sumadera family. The scholarly man across from Angie spoke politely but with enthusiasm. He didn't lay a finger on the food in front of him, so you could tell how excited he was as he spoke fervently. "Give me the food then, you asshole!" He was a professor at a certain college and was particularly well known in his authority on Western folklore. However, among his life's works, that was only a convenient exterior. His true life work was the study of occultism, Western magic, alchemy, and everything else to do with the occult, as well as demonology. In short, he was a person with the best position to understand the details of Kinzo's research. First, what I learned by appraising those books was that Miss Ushiromiya Eba had absolutely no education in the study of folklore. Why does he look like a hobbit? And that the original owner of the books, Ushiromiya Kinzo, was certainly one of the top 5 authorities on demonology in Japan. He got baby eyes. April 1987, a major city antique shop obtained a large quantity of ancient documents that were thought to have high historical value. They were entrusted with them by Ushiromiya Eba, who wanted them to be sold at an auction. At the time, it was thought that Eva would succeed the Ushiromiya family and have all the wealth to herself as the only survivor. However, at that point, not even half a year had passed since the accident. The others had not long enough to be presumed dead, even under extraordinary circumstances. Because of that, Eva had supposedly been in a very tight spot, financially unable to even collect on her family's life insurance. It seems she tried to sell everything of value. Even the books kept in the place where she escaped harm in Kuwadorian were used for this purpose. These old books, which eventually would be called the Ushiromiya Library, were later gathered from the antique shops by authorities in the field so that they could be appraised. Those authorities were astounded. At least speaking from the perspective of occultism, the impact of that discovery on the world was comparable to the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Wow! Maybe Kraus should have taken advantage of that. Damn, look at Ava. Smarter than Kraus. I don't know. Well, I think he found... Anyway. That is because contained within the Ushiromiya Library were many extraordinarily vital documents that had never been found, though their existence had been known of for more than a millennium. The many dreams of the occult, such as those represented by alchemy, always stirred an intense fascinations in the dilettantes. It is whispered that many magic books of great historical value, currently unknown to the public, might be in the secret possession of extremely wealthy lovers of the occult. Items such as Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks, which are particularly popular among dilettantes, are said to be prime examples of this. It is said approximately 5,000 pages of these notebooks currently exist, and over 10,000 have been lost, but some researchers believe a large part of this lost portion may be monopolized by certain enthusiasts and members of the extremely rich. It is said that because of this, even now, dilettantes who can't help but seek these spare no expense to search around for quietly hoarded away unannounced notebooks. There's probably no doubting that Ushiromiya Kinzo himself was one of those dilettantes. No one knows what Kinzo went through to obtain those. There can be no mistake he used his vast wealth freely, buying them off of other rich people with the same hobby as him. Those books, which were so valuable that enthusiasts could never satisfy their desire to hoard them away, were discovered in large numbers at the end of the 20th century. Their release to the public had given the world an entire massive shock. Because of this case, the name Rokkenjima became known across the world. The world was also shocked to learn that in all the likelihood a large number of even more valuable undiscovered books were lost during the Rokkenjima accident. Because of this, the names of the Rokkenjima and the Ushiromiya Library will remain in our memories in all time. Our memories. That hour probably met the occult neck of the woods with the same hobby as Kinzo. Because of that incident, the name of Rokkenjima had taken on the vital meaning in the world of the occult. There certainly had been a lot of reporting about the accident of Rokkenjima itself, but not on an international level. However, this one part had spread across the world, taking the image of Rokkenjima as a small island in the Izu How did he tell me to say it? Archipelago? Is that how he told me to say it? It's not archipelago or something. It's archipelago or something. Archipelagio or I don't remember. Guys, I'm stupid. In the Izu Archipelago. There, okay. I guess I'll just correct it in the other one when I go over all of my Let's Plays and make them better. Painting it over as a Danaic island where riddles, suspicion, and mystery and the occult met. In other words, until Kinzo's library was leaked to the public eye by Eva, Rokkenjima had been merely a nameless island that no one could remember. Archipelago. Thank you! And certainly not the island of a witch. However, when the knowledge of the Ushiromiya library spread all over the planet, Rokkenjima's image immediately took on an occult twist. What happened next was the discovery of the message bottle. That's what turned the island into a witch's island. A nameless island in the Izu Archipelago began to transition to an island of the occult. The island of the mysterious witch Beatrice. Hold on. Somebody said it was Beatrice and not... Because sometimes I say it Beatrice, but I'll try to say Beatrice or something. I don't know, I'm not Italian, it's hard. You might say that lacking either the Ushiromiya library or the message ball, the Rokkenjima witch legend, which never would have been established. The message bottle. Yes, a form of communication to the unspecified target by throwing an empty bottle with a letter sealed inside of it into the sea. It was once famous as a way of sending an SOS from a deserted island, but because of the influence of certain prominent foreign detective novel, it has also become known as a method of confessing the truth after one's own death, like a time-delayed will. The case of the Rokkenjima message ball was certainly one of the latter. This is the thing everyone says a fisherman on a nearby island picked up. In episode 1, correct. We learned that a young fisherman on Shikinejima picked up a wine bottle with a letter in it. This young fisherman kept it just out of curiosity. Then, because Rokkenjima had fallen under the world's attention due to the Ushiromiya library, he announced his discovery. Is there any chance it was a fabrication made by the fisherman? Of course, we weren't able to deny that possibility. The scraps of paper in the wine bottle were signed by a certain member of the Ushiromiya family, a girl named Ushiromiya Maria. However, after looking at the left of her former belongings, it is confirmed this message was written in a different person's handwriting. A different person's handwriting? Correct! At the very least, I believe there can be no doubt it was written by a person more skilled at writing and of a greater age than her. There's a very high likelihood that someone faked her name when they wrote it. Therefore, at that point in time, the contents of those scraps of paper were thought to have a very low credibility. Well, there you go. I wonder who that handwriting belongs to. However, later on it was confirmed a similar message ball had been recovered from a nearby ocean on the day of the accident by the police in their search for the lost articles, and this caused a sensation. It seems that due to the evidence from the surrounding area and the fact that the ball had been sealed, the police had decided the likelihood of being a fabrication was low. It had been abandoned no earlier than a few days before the accident, and the handwriting for both matched. This caused the credibility of the scraps of paper discovered by the fishermen to rise. It seems the magazine and the like have reported on the contents of the message ball repeatedly. But would you like an explanation? No. I know about it more or less. Many scraps of paper had been stuffed in both the wine bottles. It was an extensive notebook written by someone calling themselves Ushiro Maria, but who wasn't Maria, and which told the events during the day before the accident up until the day of the accident in a diary-like way. Its contents had been the beginning of the witch's legend serial murder incident, as well as the Golden Witch Beatrice's puzzle. Oh, Beatrice. Sorry, I have to work on that. This bizarre diary-style notebook described how the Ushirimiya family members nailed down on the island by the typhoon were caught up in the ceremony for the resurrection of a witch and killed one by one in inexplicable ways. And in the end, the Golden Witch Beatrice revived and everything was flung into the Golden Land. It was written almost as though it was a complete account of the events on those days. Also, it depicted the current situation on the island at the time in greater detail. The former servants who used to work in the Ushirimiya family gave testimony it definitely been written by a human who knew the inside details of the island. So because of a combination of the occult boom from the strange fantasy novel and the Ushirimiya library, as well as the fact that truth remained shrouded in darkness, the legend of the Rokkenjima witch was born. Correct! More than 10 years have already passed since that case. It's still the focus of interest for occult enthusiasts around the world. No, to the contrary, you could say it's become increasingly deified as the time passes. There's still many enthusiasts who try to secretly land on Rokkenjima, even though it's prohibited. Could there be another message ball that has still not been discovered? And on that day, what really happened on that island? There's still much to be discussed. As though he had finally remembered what was going on for some time, the man took a gulp of water. His pottage was getting cold, but it seems the man's hunger had already been blown away. Give me your pottage, you asshole! I'm pretty sure that the fisherman's scraps of paper and the police's scraps of paper had completely different contents. Correct! Due to that, interest in the Rokkenjima mystery increased even further. Inside both the bottles were diary-style notebooks on which was written on the account from the day before the accident until the day of the accident. However, while both of their contents described the same 2-day period, they were completely different. It was as though one was truth and one was lie, or perhaps both were lies. In any event, the beginnings and the endings alone matched each other. In the beginning, 18 people, including the relatives, are sealed up on the island by the typhoon. In the ending, everyone dies and the Golden Witch is revived, and everything is flung into the Golden Land. The contents of both message balls wrote about the events of the day before the accident and the day of the accident, but the details were completely different. Both diaries outline a serial murder following the epitaph of the witch, but the order of the sacrifices, the way they died, even the tale of 2 days were different. However, in both, everyone died in the end, the witch revived, making for the same general plot. Because the only survivor, Mrs. Ushiromiya Eva, has remained silent about what actually happened on the island, the events of that entire 2-day period are shrouded in darkness. These 2 diaries presented 2 full theories to wipe away that darkness. Those 2 days could be explained with either of those 2 diaries. However, we don't know which is correct or even if there's anything correct contained within them. Schrodinger's cat box. If it isn't denied, even the mixture of truth and fiction can be the truth. Through the media, these scraps of paper, of course, had been shown to Ava as well, but in the end, she never broke her silence. Who sent the message bottles, and why? Earlier, in their special issue for the crime's 10th anniversary, a certain magazine took up a topic for discussion in a grand manner, didn't they? The theory seems to be one garnering the most support lately. But it is rather dull what happened on the island on that day, considering this question is the true charm of the witch hunt. Fact! Witch hunt is also like a group named after the people who translated Umineko in English. For people who don't know. Not for the people that know. I'm sorry if it seems more obvious. I don't like it when I get repeated the same trivia too. The witch hunt? Yes, the Rokkenjima witch hunt is the name of the group of enthusiasts who try to explain the truth of the crime from an occult perspective. Discussion of mysteries that surround Rokkenjima, from the Ushirimiya Library to the mysterious two-day period to the legend of the Golden Witch, is flourishing even today among enthusiasts. For the 10-year anniversary, an international convention was held in New York. I also participated as a representative of Japan. I was able to intermingle with the zealous overseas witch hunters in many ways. Witches are a very popular category overseas. The age span of participants stretched from elementary schoolers all the way at the bottom to all the famous cultural figures at the top. Even in Japan in recent years, it was finally... You probably don't need any more explanation, but he's one of the most famous Rokkenjima witch hunters in Japan. Even though I didn't ask for anything more, he kept on continuing all excitedly all by himself. As I stirred the thin film of my pottage with my spoon, I shrugged with my shoulders and sighed. Looks like researching about the message ball really was a waste of time. No, if there's one thing I found, it's that the notebook supposedly written by Maria was actually written by a different person faking her name. And that person wrote up an occult legend on their own, put into the ball as though it was the truth and threw it into the sea. I have a question. Why would they go through all the trouble of running so much in order to create a suspicious letter like that? With a message ball, there'd be no guarantee that it ever passed into anyone's hands. If their luck had been bad, it could have sunk into the ocean, never to be seen by anyone. Even if someone had picked it up, they might not even cared about it and thrown it away. Why would they even entrust their confession of the truth to the sea with such an uncertain method? Why would they write up multiple differing tales? If there had been one message ball claiming that it was a story of the truth, that might be reckless but not impossible. However, because there were two, that made both of them doubtful. If someone was plotting to make out those 2 days to be the work of a witch, they really did go one step too far. And because there were two, it suggests an undiscoverable third one, or possibly even more, that might exist. In other words, the two different contents make both of them harder and harder to swallow. But despite that, the contents of both match in what they told of a witch in the tale. So is the main point that the writer wanted to get across from us. It seems that the only possible explanation is that someone who wanted to give rise to the illusion of a witch carried out this crime for their own enjoyment. However, the 17 people other than Aunt Ava lost their lives, and a vast wealth, or maybe even 10 tons of gold, had moved around secretly in the darkness. It doesn't feel right for a confession occurring after all that to bring up this illusion of the witch. Even if we ignore the magazine theories, it's very doubtful that the message ball really was a diary. After all, the amount of writing was massive. It's hard to imagine that someone actually caught up in the middle of a serial murder like that would actually calmly write it down. In that case, it's probably more realistic that this diary was written over a long period of time up until the day prior of the accident. In that case, would it mean that everything on Rokkenjima was a planned crime with everything prepared for over a long stretch of time? The fact that Aunt Ava left this world without saying anything is infuriating. She definitely said on her deathbed, she definitely said her reason for not telling me the truth was because it was her best way of harassing me. Yeah, by now it's painfully obvious. Of all the things Aunt Ava did to harass me, this is probably the last and the greatest. But thinking of it this way, it's pretty doubtful that Aunt Ava is the true culprit. Of course, that's not because of the handwriting on this message was different from Aunt Ava's or anything like that. It's because in both tales that discovered, Aunt Ava was included among the victims. In other words, she was killed. The writer of the diary was the culprit. Maybe Aunt Ava was also one of the targets to be killed. And considering, let's see, this is Alliance of the Golden Witch. The last one was Banquet of the Golden Witch. So the first two tales were Legend of the Golden Witch and Turn of the Golden Witch. And it's confirmed that Legend of the Golden Witch is technically written in the wine bottle. So the second tale has to be one of those two. But they both said that Ava was so likely. The two tales are written by somebody named Ushiro Miyamariya, who wrote both Legend of the Golden Witch and Turn of the Golden Witch. So episode 1 and 2, where Ava is dead in both of them. So that's where it kind of gets meta. So who wrote Banquet of the Golden Witch then? Supposing that that is another case or something. Anyway. If the writer of the diary is the culprit, maybe Aunt Ava was also one of the targets to be killed. As, meta within a story within a story. So maybe Aunt Ava survived because something went wrong. Because I hated Aunt Ava, I came to believe that she had to be the culprit. But the existence of the message bottle makes me suspect the mastermind is far more profound and an unknown person than her. I looked at the clock. I heard more than enough. It's time. As he continued to speak fervently, I suggested that I wanted to bring this discussion to a close. He seemed to be aware that he had gotten excited and talked too much, so he quickly accepted this. Thank you very much for today. I believe I heard something truly valuable. No, it was truly fun to be able to welcome a young lady as a new friend of the witch hunt. I have many precious materials that I couldn't show you because of this change to a different venue from the usual. I would be glad to show you them in the next chance we get. Thank you, Professor. Could I ask one more thing? Yes, what is it? Professor, why are you interested in witches? No, in occultism and demonology. Well, that is somewhat embarrassing. A daydream I had in my childhood. If I could use a mysterious power, I could take on even the biggest of bullies, and went on to become my life's work. After all, the primitive desire of admiring a known power is as universal today as it ever was in the past. Professor, if you could do it, would you want to become a witch? Do you still dream of being able to use magic at will? But of course, even though at this age I understand logically that such a thing couldn't exist. I cannot forget my childlike dreams, such as flying in the sky and turning scrap iron into gold. If you would, please keep this a secret from my students. If I told you I was a real witch, would you believe it? My pet theory from a few experiences with women is that they're all witches. Angie snorted at the old professor, who must have been an earnest scholar with barely any experience with women. Yeah. And one final question. Professor, have you seen the original message ball itself? I have indeed. In that case, do you know that handwriting well? Of course. I am not a specialist in the area, but at least when it comes to handwriting of a message ball, I am proud to be the most knowledgeable in Japan. At that point, Angie set down the books with the desk with a thud. Damn it! At that point, Angie set down a book on the desk with a thud. And this is? I have never seen it before. He prided himself on his thorough knowledge of all literature related to Rokkenjima. He looked bewildered at this binding he'd never seen before. Ignoring him, Angie silently flipped through the pages and opened to one of them and showed him. On that page was a handwritten paragraph beginning with, "To my beloved witch apprentice." At the end, there was a signature in katakana that said Beatrice. I'm sorry, I keep saying Beatrice. This is... The instant he glanced at it, his face went pale. In other words, it's confirmed that Beatrice is an artist that draws in and writes in Maria's notebook. Aw, man. We really relate. Okay. She knew the answer before asking, but Angie asked it out loud anyway. Does the handwriting in the paragraph on this page match the handwriting in the message bottle? Well, I must take this home and investigate more. Pardon me for asking, but what in the world is this book? Where did you get it? The man stretched out his hand, but Angie pulled it back, as though telling him not to touch it with his filthy hands. Thank you. Just that reaction is all I need. Thank you very much for today. Here's the reward I promised. She stood up, clutching Maria's diary. Angie carelessly tossed a wad of 10,000 yen notes, wrapped in a strip of paper, on the table. As Angie turned her back to him and made to leave, the man raised his voice as though clinging to her, but Angie didn't stop walking. I beg you! What in the world is that book? I don't need a reward! Show me that book! Both you and I are in the witch hunt, but it looks like we aren't pursuing it at the same level. You're entertaining yourself with the outside of the cat box. And what I want to know is about the inside of the cat box. And this book is the key to opening it. It's too good for you. Well then. Goodbye, gentlemen. Have a nice day. But please wait! Sumadera! His voice didn't reach her. She'd already joined up with Amakusa and gone into the car. Did you find anything? Only at the very end. I was right. The one who wrote the message balls was Beatrice herself. Cool. So, you conclude the witch actually exists. Who knows? Mind if I sleep? I'll bet that talkative professor got lost in his own little world in lectures and makes lots of kids fall asleep. Please, go ahead and take a rest. Still, that went really well. That guy believed I was a Sumadera until the very end. The Sumadera had set up a web beforehand and found any people that Angie might try to contact. They offered a reward to anyone who could take Ushiromiya Angie into custody if she appeared. Angie had foreseen that and snatched it away. She had called herself Sumadera, and after cleverly tricking the man by saying her own subordinates would set up an ambush, so he didn't need to worry about it, she had taken him outside. So when the Sumadera family pursuers reached the professor's house, there was no longer anyone there. According to the family, a young man and a woman calling themselves Sumadera visited this morning, and took the professor out with them and still have not returned. There's a chance we were outmaneuvered. What a bad child, Angie. I wonder if their craftiness is from Nasan's blood. To think she'd casually take on the name Sumadera after saying she'd hate to go by it so often. The professor should be returning soon. When he does, we must serve him some tea. As in, she's gonna beat the shit out of him. Also, I don't care about her, so I'm reading her with the bare minimum energy. So, yeah. Yes. Understood. I also don't care about her subordinates. I wonder if she thinks she's leaving me around by the nose. What a naughty child. With a demonic look on her face, Kasumu violently stamped her heel. I don't care about her. She pisses me off. I will not read her with things.
I'll teach you about my magic of origins. No, I taught you before, right? And you used it before. Did you forget? You were also a witch apprentice, Angie, with your name entered into Mariage's Cherchier, weren't you?
I was also included among the witches, wasn't I? I closed Maria's diary and flopped down on a very high-class-looking bed. I slept deeply for a long time in the car, so it took longer than usual for drowsiness to set in. I read the diary as I waited. This was a super expensive hotel in the city. Since it was often used by the rich and the famous, they were very big on confidentiality. That made it very convenient for Angie to escape her pursuers. The idea that renegades should spend their nights hiding in cheap hotels is a very commoner's way of thinking. To Angie, who possessed all the wealth in the Ushiromiya family's renegade life, was comfortable indeed. Of course, even though he was a guard, Amakusa was a man and therefore in a separate room. Angie used the bedroom of a suite, and Amakusa lay on the sofa in the living room. According to Amakusa, the sofas here were more pleasant than his own beds had been recently. Poor guy. When I looked at the clock, I saw it was almost 2 in the middle of the night. I'm still not getting sleepy. I sighed deeply. At the time, even though there was no wind, I had the feeling that Maria's diary fluttered. Then One-chan appeared. Her form was no longer the normal one I'd known. She was wearing the dress that Beatrice had given her after acknowledging her as a witch. I messed up again, I'm sorry.
If you don't get some sleep, it'll be tough tomorrow, right?
If I were a witch too, I'd be able to use magic, wouldn't I?
Yeah! You can use it! I taught you, didn't I? Taught you how to use it! And you were able to use it in the past, weren't you?
I remember. I started wanting to use it.
Are you starting to feel lonely?
Not really. It's not like having a different pillow every night is tough.
The first step to magic can be loneliness or boredom. Even small reasons like that.
Even if it's just trying to kill time until you fall asleep.
Yeah! I'm glad you remembered about magic one more time.
It's been quite a long time since I used magic. At one point with Maria's introduction, I touched a corner of it and opened the door a tiny bit. So I should still remember that sensation.
Right now your magical power has declined significantly, Angie. If you don't devote yourself to the basics, it'll be hard, okay?
Sure. Checking all directions. Securing a quiet place.
What about Amakusa?
He's sleeping. After opening the door to the living room a crack, I could see a blanket caterpillar on the sofa roll over in its sleep.
With your magical strength as weak as it is now, the anti-magic power is affecting you too much. Not just the sight of people, but voices, sounds, and even the presence of people will get in the way of your magic. Sever those completely, like how ancient magicians shut themselves up in ateliers to preserve their isolation.
I remember. The very existence of humans blocks magic. Therefore, the very act of showing magic to people is a sign of a high-level witch. Obtain a quiet space for yourself alone. That should be enough to prepare a space to use magic.
Next is the vessel. Right now it's important for your bike to at least have training wheels. No, a chain.
This is, of course, impossible. Angie rubbed her own head. She wore hair accessories there with pink gems attached. They felt a little childish for Angie, but she never took them off. Not even for a single day.
Yeah, it really will be impossible for you now, Angie. If you practice every single day since then, you might have gained the ability to summon with that by now.
If I were to start training now, how long would it take?
It's said that a year of magical training for a child is worth 10 years for an old person. You need a lot of determination.
You mean like Ushiromiya Kinzo. So just like the piano and the violin, getting a special education for a young age is huge when it comes to magic.
As you are now, your power has weakened since the time you were first able to use magic, Angie. Don't overdo it and devote yourself to the basics.
After stubbornly rubbing those things on my head one more time, I gave up. I started fishing through the knapsack, looking for anything that might make a good vessel. Shouldn't this be a perfect vessel?
It's been a long time, yes. With this, I think you should be able to perform a summons as you are now. And they have no master now. It should be possible for you to become their new master, Angie.
Among the things that looked like good vessels, I took one that I thought might possess the strongest magical power. I sat on the side table near the bed with a clatter. It was a shady-looking stake weapon with an occult design inscribed on it. It was one of the 7 stakes of purgatory, which the witch used to offer sacrifices. When the police was searching for the family's possession, they collected a large amount of junk. After the investigation had finished, these had been politely returned to the Ushiromiya family. Finding something that I had seen the pictures of Maria's diary, I took it home with me.
Originally, there were 7 stakes of purgatory. How pitiful. Now she's the only one left.
Oni-chan smiled, looking lonely. I pulled another book out of the knapsack. This is also old-fashioned. You could tell it was an occult book just by looking. But its contents were plain. It was one of Maria's elaborate notebooks. This wasn't a diary. This was a grimoire which she was written as a witch. The 7 sticks of purgatory are Beatrice's furniture, created by her and employed only for her sake. But since Beatrice is also a witch of the Mariage Sorciere, they could be employed by Maria, a witch of the same alliance. For that reason, the method of summoning the 7 stakes of purgatory and how to handle them was written about how in great detail in Maria's grimoire. So, okay, the all caps are supposed to represent the katakana. Since English doesn't have that, we have our own thing. And as another person with their name registered in the alliance, I was also permitted to employ them. Which of the 7 sisters is this stake?
Their characteristics are written about well in my grimoire. The sisters of the 7 stakes really hate it when you get their names wrong. Remember their names well before summoning them.
A packed page told of the 7 stakes of purgatory. It described the 7 sisters in great detail. Yes, I think I memorized almost this entire page once in the past. The more I read it, the more I start to remember. By the pictures and the characteristics written on the grimoire, I could tell the stake in my hand was Mammmon's stake. In the past, I hadn't had any stakes, so I summoned them without any vessel. So this is the first time I had clearly seen any of the 7 stakes, let alone Mammon. Mammon, the 5th sister, controls the deadly sin of greed, an incredible kid.
Greed also controls aspirations of the desire to improve oneself and the strength to live. It definitely doesn't mean only bad things. She's rude, but she's a girl who tries really hard.
I see. You could say that without desire, there's no reason to live. For a while, I heightened my concentration and digested the information that was written about Mammon. The more the summoner knows about the target that's being summoned, the better. Knowledge is connected to magical power. I began to fill my head with the knowledge about Mammon, raising the necessary amount of magical power for a summoning. Grimoires can be a bit interesting. This might be much better than reading some lame novel. It really takes me back.
For a grimoire, it's demanded that not only you understand the letters, that you fill out the world of spaces between the lines, giving birth to a world from the pictures and creating things in various ways. The power to give birth to something. For someone who has that, such as you, a grimoire should be much more interesting than any book. I've always known that you'd be able to understand that way.
That should be enough knowledge of Mammon for now. Yes. I remembered it more or less. I'll give it a try.
Take care! In case the worst happens, here's my talisman. The Treaty of the Alliance won't protect you right now. That Mammon is a bit of a quick trigger, and she may still bear a grudge. Be careful.
Yes, I'll wear it. The 7 stakes of purgatory, as furniture used to make sacrifices for a ceremony, were treated as beings inferior or even to weapons. That was only when compared to other demons. To humans, furniture is something to be feared. I fished through the knapsack again and took out a bracelet charm with the scorpion mail that I got from Maria a long time ago and put it on my arm. In the past, I hadn't needed something like this, but I need insurance.
It's okay. I'd always been fitted with the required amount of magical defense. As long as you wear that, you'll definitely be fine.
Maria's magical power, which has especially been put into this charm, had been enough to earn even Beatrice's admiration. While it may look like something cheap to a human who couldn't understand magic, its magical worth was incalculable. Come, arise, forgive the sin. One of the 7 stakes of purgatory, Mammon of Greed. I focused my mind. I made the magic-repelling toxin that filled my body 0. Imagine an untainted vast space. Doubts and common sense resist all magic. Make the resistance 0 and erase the burden on the magical power. Inside my head was the image of a vast space. It was a nighttime world where I floated in the air and the neon stars over the ground sparkled. A world where the stars should have covered the sky were wiped away by the light from below that covered the ground. In the world of vast night sky with no obstructions. I imagined the wind blowing through at will. At that time, in a room where there shouldn't have been any wind, the night 3 times wind kicked up a cyclone. A long-forgotten sensation raced through my entire body. It was a unique feeling of exultation that comes from using magic. Mammon steak, which I held out in my hand, gradually began to make me feel a pale light. A twisting cyclone with a stake at the center. The hefty stake floated a bit into the air.
Wonderful! Looks like the gap in your training hasn't stolen your talent.
Come, arise. Forgive the sin. One of the 7 stakes of purgatory, Mammon of Greed. Show yourself to me. After I raised my hands bit by bit, lifting them higher than my head, as though it was being attracted upwards, Mammon's stake once again floated up high into the air and gradually began to shake. That shaking began to grow faster, and it burst. With a speed faster than the eye could follow, it flew around violently, rebounding off the walls of the room. The terrible sound of it dancing around threatened to make me flinch. However, I must not lose my mental concentration. The stake, which had been flying around at an incredible speed, finally stopped and faced me. It was in the air a few centimeters away from my forehead and held back by the defensive barrier created by the scorpion charm. It tried to break the defensive barrier, eating into it with an incredible power, but Maria's barrier couldn't be broken so easily. It's no use. I can't break it, the stake muttered hatefully. It was probably safe to say the scorpion charm saved me. Without that, my attempt at killing time until I got sleepy would have been killed my time for all eternity. When Mammon Steak realized that it was unable to gouge me, it gave up and grew docile, changing its form to that from a steak into a human. In the same old outfit I'd never be able to walk around outside in, although you could say it suited her in a demonic sort of way. Is that Angie? But that magical power is pretty shabby. Are you really Angie? It's been a long time, Mammon. Have you been well? And here I was convinced that furniture that's already fulfilled its function just gets left to rust away in a closet. So, what kind of sideshow is this? You aren't going to say that you're my owner, are you?
Yes, and she's your master.
Lady Maria, how unsightly of me. Was that bear just now yours?
Yes, I thought that she is now, and she might have just got finished off by you. I lent her a talisman.
If Lady Maria says Angie is my master, I cannot refuse. Angie, please, your orders. If it's me you need, are you going to perform a new ceremony? With new sacrifices? Of course, that's only if you're willing to handle me yourself and get your own hands dirty. That role isn't something I'm asking for anymore. All you have to do is talk with me like you used to. Yes, if that is what you desire. Furniture is furniture because it is used. It is an honor just to be summoned. Angie. Mammon had a slightly complicated smile on her face. She accepted her new master because Maria told her to, but it looked like she hadn't gotten over her discontent at working for Angie with her frail magical power. Perhaps she had some other reason for hating Angie, but for now it seemed that she couldn't disobey, even if she wasn't happy about it. So, what should I do? I don't know. Just do something lively, like old times. Well now, this liveliness you're talking about is probably from when we sisters were all together. It may be difficult by myself. Did you forget?
That's right! The 7 sisters were really lively when we got together. But with Angie's magical power now, I think summoning just Mammon is the best we can hope for. The stakes for the other 6 have been lost.
My apologies, Lady Maria, but maybe it would be possible to summon the 7 sisters via my own stake. If I am to be used, I hope Angie at least has that much power, right? Mammon grinned. Apparently, she wanted me to summon the other sisters without a vessel. I see. So she's unable to satisfy herself with being summoned alone. She's asking for the other sisters to be summoned as well. I get it, Greed. Yes, she was like this back then, wasn't she? To furniture, the times of which they are used are bliss. No matter how badly they are exploited, being used is furniture's joy. On the contrary, regardless of how nice you are to them, not being given a job is more painful than anything in their eyes. Mammon spoke in a challenging way, but she wanted me to summon the other sisters somehow and rescue them from the world of nothingness. If that's the case, all she's got to do is say so. These demon people can never really just say what they mean.
Angie, don't overdo it. You'll need plenty of rehabilitation from just summoning Mammon.
Oh, I'll need to rehabilitate after just one? Well, I'm just killing time anyway. Okay, Mammon. I'm gone this far. I'll call as many as I can. Really? Not bad, Angie. Okay, quickly. Apparently, even though she'd asked, Mammon hadn't really expected Angie to do this. She hopped around badgering Angie to summon the other sisters. Summoning Mammon alone consumed a considerable amount of physical and magical power. It'd probably be pretty tough to do 6 more. I'm awed by the magical power of those who can summon sisters like this at will at a snap of their fingers, and who therefore reach the level where they can be called witches.
Mammon, don't make Angie overdo it. She still isn't at her best.
What? Angie said she'd summon everyone. Actually, I only said I'd call as many as I could. I guess that's greed for you.
Don't overdo it, Angie. You should rest for today. You're tired enough.
It's okay. I'm just killing time anyway. Let me get tired enough that I can just fall over asleep. This time there's no vessel. I'll have to strengthen the image from my knowledge of the grimoire and materialize them with just that. I held my hand out into the air, replaying in my head the sensation from when I resummoned Mammon. I'm acquainted with all the 7 sisters, right? I've got to remember that time long ago, when I talked with them. Once again, the power of magic began to fill me up. It let off a faint and yet distinct pale light from both my hands. Angie! Hold on, good luck! Hey, Lady Mardia! Angie's definitely gonna summon everyone, right? The 7 sisters will get to be reunited again, right? Right?
Yeah, definitely. But there's no guarantee that'll happen tonight.
Angie can do it! Please, Angie! Start with the youngest sister, Asmo! Asmodeus, the 7th sister. Got it. I'll call them in order, starting from the youngest. A strand of hot sweat dripped down from my forehead. This is really going to be one hell of a burden to carry. The pale light in this space began to slowly form in the outline of a girl. Come arise, one of the 7 stakes of purgatory, Asmodeus of lust. There was no vessel. However, as I held a strong conviction that she definitely did exist there as a core, her form began to crystallize. Her outline became distinct. The form of the youngest 7 sisters, Asmodeus was finally created.
Asmodeus of Lust right here. Where is this? Am I alive?
Asmo! I'm so glad!
Mammon, where in the world is this? Who summoned me?
Angie did! Angie said she'd revive all of us! No, I didn't.
Angie, thank you! Do bells next, please?
Beelzebub, the 6th sister. Beelzebub of gluttony, come arise. At this rate, I wonder how many I'd be able to summon. If I can't focus, this is probably it. The pale light made an outline and formed into Beelzebub.
Beelzebub of Gluttony right here. Please! Angie, you're crazy, incredible!
Mammon and Asmodeus jump into Beelzebub, celebrating their reunion. I summoned 3 people at once. My head was throbbing. Gotta summon the next one without stopping for a break. Come arise, one of the 7 stakes, Belphegor of Sloth. Belphegor of Sloth right here. To think that I would be needed again.
Belpha! I'm hungry! I'm so glad to see you again! To think that the 7 sisters would be able to meet again! Angie, thank you so much!
Keep it up and do Satan next. And Leviat and Lucy. Oops, I messed up. Yeah, I get it. So please try not to be so loud. Doing 4 people at the same time is pretty tough.
Angie, don't overdo it any more than this. You did a good job even summoning 4 of them after such a long time.
Stop it, Mammon. Right now, Angie is being pressured with the burden of summoning us. Angie, I beg that you do not strain yourself too much. No way! Angie promised! She said we all play together again. No, Right? Angie? You said everyone would meet again. You promised that we could meet again right away. That's right, I promised. I didn't promise anything about when, but I certainly did promise. So keep that promise! If you don't, I'll never forgive you for forgetting it until today, Angie! Come arise, one of the 7 stakes of purgatory, Satan of Wrath. My mind's getting hazy, but I'll call. Even though I've forgotten about those days, even though I never thought of the time as anything but sad and lonely, because of the short time I spent with them, it was fun, without a doubt. Satan of Wrath right here. What the hell are you people doing? Don't you realize how much of a burden Angie is to just let us have an idle chat? Satan, who had apparently figured out the situation immediately after being summoned, cried out in a loud voice, telling her sisters off. That loud voice made my consciousness hazy again. We are furniture who've been granted rest by Beatrice, whose duty has been finished. Not only are you not honored at being given another chance to be of some use, but you're putting a burden on our new master? You disgrace to all furniture! Erase yourselves right away! Yes, it's like Satan says. I'll erase myself. You all erase yourselves too. In this moment, it's best for the way for all of us to be of use to Angie. No way! Not until everyone's summoned!
Same here! I'm hungry! I hate to leave again so soon after being reunited with you all!
Don't be so selfish! Come on, erase yourself quickly! Come on, Asmo! Disappear right now!
Satan's bullying me! It's not fair if you always bully the youngest one!
Yes, they really are lively. It doesn't bore me.
That's enough! You surpassed your limits for now, Angie.
You're right. With 5 of them summoned and messing around as they are pleased, the load was far too heavy for me with the meager magical power I had at the moment. This is it. As my consciousness went hazy, I fell over onto the bed. Have beds always felt this soft? It seemed the sisters were still squabbling together as much as they liked, for a way to kill time until drowsiness gets to me. This is enough. Feeling something warm and nostalgic in the sisters' liveliness, I sink into a world of deep sleep. At the entrance to my dream world, I felt Maria and Sakutaro waiting to receive me.
You worked hard, and good job! Welcome back, Angie.
Welcome back, huh? Then I should respond like this. I'm home. Alright, that's all I'm reading tonight, I think. I feel really tired, to be honest. Oh wait, no, never mind. No, I can't. That's right, just once in the past I underwent training in order to step into the world of witches. I accepted that only the power that could save me from those sad, painful days at St. Lucia Academy was the thing called magic. I I received Maria's introduction to the basics. Imagine a vast space. The scene from when I looked down at the mountain's base from the rest stop at the peak. Like this, I projected that scene from a memory into my mental world. Normal girls get their fascination with magical girls when they leave elementary school, so seriously training to use magic at this age was embarrassing for me. But even that embarrassed feeling felt pleasant to me now. Right then, when I was learning mental concentration from Maria in order to use magic, but it wasn't going very well. It was about as hopeless as teaching a person to wiggle their ears by showing them. It seems you need to imagine a vast space to gain the mental concentration for using magic. So I remember the time from my younger days when my family had gone to a small vacation. I looked downwards from the base of the viewing platform at a rest stop on a peak. I tried painting this scene in my mental world.
No, still far too small. Imagine a much, much wider space. And create your own mental world. Your image is still way too foggy. There's no temperature in the air and there's no wind. No smells either. The world is still very faint. You can leave those for later, so for now imagine an even wider space. Idiot, why do you have to imagine a vast space? From the time of their birth, humans have inside of them a toxin that blocks magic. If that toxin isn't purified, you can't use magic well. One effective method of achieving is to imagine a vast space.
Just now I thought of the world as seen from the window of an airplane, but that didn't work. I can't even think of a world more vast than that.
In that case, Maria just has to teach Angie about the vast world Maria has. Won't that make it easy for Angie to imagine as well?
That's right. I'm interested in the kind of world that One-chan imagines when she uses magic. I'll use that for a reference.
That won't work. The mental world must be vast and isolated. A world with no obstructions other than yourself. So if you teach someone about that world, it won't be isolated anymore. That's why you mustn't reveal your mental world to anyone. And if you draw up a good mental world, you too must keep it a secret only for yourself. So stingy, Maria.
Thanks, Sakutaro. I guess there are no shortcuts in training. I'll make an effort. It's okay. I've been given plenty of hints.
Do your best, Angie.
Until recently, I thought there was no way something like magic could save me. After all, magic doesn't exist in this world. That kind of thing's supposedly nothing more than an illusion, a delusion, a daydream. However, Maria showed me that she could fill her own world with happiness using power that's impossible for me. I used to look down on that happiness as something empty. Because I didn't believe in magic, I also denied everything else, refusing to believe in the happiness that magic gave birth to. But slowly, bit by bit, Maria's world grew happier. In the past, I disparaged it, thinking it too pitiful to look at. But that might have been nothing more than jealousy. I was forced to admit that, and now this was my first step in my search of happiness. A vast space. A dry wind that could blow without being blocked by anything. Let me feel that wind blowing through my own hair. I see. Even the ground might get in my way as I am now. Then I don't need a ground. Brush the ground away. Downwards. Downwards. In other words, it was as though I floated up and leave the ground far behind. After pushing the ground further and further downwards, the sky grew foggy and faint, and for the first time, it began to feel like the sky. Then I understood its vastness. In that instant, I felt the vivid wind go right through even my body. In other words, blowing through me without any resistance.
Yes, maintain that sensation.
Yeah, I get it. I get that I've been released from all hindrances.
You did it, Angie, you did it! You've taken your first step into the world of witches!
This is the world of witches.
Yeah! So let's try practicing that magic you always wish for, Angie. Magic that'll summon friends, and magic that create allies who'll save you from your loneliness and thereby bring you happiness. Will Angie also be able to summon friends like me? As she is now, it's still far too early for Angie to summon friends like Sakutaro from the Sea of Zero. To begin, let's start by practicing with friends that are easy to summon.
What will we start with?
Because you're a witch of Mariachi Sorciere, you're also permitted to use those employed by other witches in the Alliance. For example, Sakutaro is my friend, but since you're in the same alliance, he's your friend too and you can summon him. You want to try summoning Sakutaro one of these days? When you're so lonely it gets tough, I'm sure Sakutaro would cheer you up.
I see. You could call Sakutaro a being employed by One-chan. So as a witch in the same alliance as her, it's possible for me to summon Sakutaro too. I met Sakutaro's gaze. How pleasant it would be to just have him there by my pillow, so he could talk to me a bit on lonely nights. If I call out, will you appear and talk to me?
Uryu, I can't wait to be summoned by you, Angie. Uryu.
Looking happy, Sakutaro pressed his head against me like a cat. Suddenly getting a cute younger brother felt a bit confusing and a bit embarrassing, but a bit nice. Unable to understand why I couldn't honestly accept this feeling, I felt tears well up in my eyes. Right. I'll give it all I got, Oni-chan.
Then let's practice. Let's try summoning the furniture of Beatrice, a witch from the same alliance.
Beatrice's furniture. Hearing Beatrice's name gave me a slightly strange feeling. When it came to the primordial Kenjima, the public kept going on and on in a frenzy about how it was a sacrifice ceremony performed by a witch. And that witch was Beatrice. So the witch did commit that crime. That would make her the culprit who stole my family from me. However, Maria said that Beatrice was a good witch. If I held negative emotions toward Beatrice, she'd get mad and lead into a nasty fight and refuse to talk for a while. At this moment, Oni-chan was my only close friend, so to avoid worsening her mood, I decided to think of Beatrice as nothing more than Oni-chan's magic teacher. I also believe the crime was a conspiracy cooked up by Aunt Ava. I definitely expose the truth about that someday.
Angie, assertions are entering your body again.
Sorry, I lost my concentration. One more time. I expect no less from you, Oni-chan. You instantly noticed I was being overcome with idle thoughts. After shaking my head just once, I reimagined the wind blowing through a vast space. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory? That's a pretty creepy name.
But they're very energetic and fun kids. They might become your new friends, Angie. First, I'll show you how to summon them. Watch.
Maria lifted both hands up to the level of her head and quietly unified her mind. The state I wasn't able to reach except by meditating for a long period of time, she reached in the span of a few quick breaths. Then a pale light began to gather in her palms, and one by one the girls began to show themselves. One, two, three people. 4, 5, 6, 7 people. The way they were summoned one after another in a line was a masterpiece. Incredible. Just like the illustrations in Oni-chan's grimoire, the Seven Sisters of Purgatory. The younger sisters were behind the eldest sister, Lucifer, who saluted Oni-chan. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory right here. Lady Maria, it has been quite some time.
Yes, long time no see. Is everyone well?
We furniture are what we are because we are used. To us, being summoned after so long is truly an honor.
Sakutaro! It's been so long! You look as delicious, cute as ever!
Me first!
God, today you're so fluffy, squishy, and cute! Ah! Let me hug him too! Uryu, can't breathe. Won't run away, so let go of me, everyone!
Hey, you all! Are you trying to break Lady Maria's furniture? Anyway, get away from him! Hugging is prohibited! Even though you're saying that, it looks like you want to hug him the most, Satan. It's not like I have any interest in something so fluffy, squishy, and cuddly! Hey! Be silent in the presence of Lady Maria and Angie, you foolish sisters! They were so energetic. I was shocked by their sudden burst of activity right after they appeared. On top of that, I was surprised that innocent Sakutaro was on such good terms with the seven sisters. That's quite unexpected, to think that Sakutaro would be so loved by such shady people.
They're fellow members of the same alliance. There's nothing to be scared of, right?
But on the off chance that their mood worsens, it looks like they could finish Sakutaro off in an instant.
It's alright! The witches of the alliance and their furniture are all friends. So Sakutaro can play without worrying. Of course that goes for you and me too, Angie.
It was one of the pacts of Mariage Sorciere. Mutual non-aggression and non-interference. Member witches must respect each other's magic and creations. Even the sisters, who were normally shady and belligerent, treated fellow alliance members as friends. As in, no having OCs beat up other OCs. Got it. So to the seven sisters, Sakutaro was a mutual friend. He was loved by all of them, and they were even trying to steal him away from each other. The scene as they squeezed him and loved him was a bit charming. I see. They're fellow members of Mariage Sorciere after all. At a glance, you'd think that Sakutaro's casual atmosphere and the Seven Sisters' shady one would be like water and oil. It looked like they definitely wouldn't be compatible. And yet they were interacting in a friendly way, like it was completely natural. Excuse me. If this wonderful alliance could join all the people of the world together, I wonder if everyone in the world would be able to become friends right away.
All you seven sisters, listen. Right now, Angie's in the middle of magic training, so I want everyone to lend their power.
Certainly, Lady Maria. But what specifically?
The magical power of materializing you will move from me to Angie. And that day I want you to be by her side all the time. You just have to talk with her.
My apologies, but I wonder if Angie's magical power will be able to easily summon all seven of us around the clock. Hello! The oldest sister, Lucifer, gazed at my complexion as she advised this, speaking reservedly. In other words, she was saying the burden might be heavy for me at this point of time.
That's the kind of training it is. Angie has more talent in magic than anyone imagines. It'll be pretty tough, but I think it's worth it for Angie to take this challenge as she is now.
Angie, Oops, this is Maria's line. My bad.
Angie, starting now, I'll move the magic power materializing them over to you. In other words, it'll become as though you had summoned them.
So what Maria was trying to say was something like this. To keep the Seven Sisters materialized, you're continually burdened with a significant amount of magical power. Maybe you could say it was like training while wearing a weighted wristband.
Doing all the Seven Sisters would be pretty tough. Isn't that asking a lot of Angie all of a sudden?
Thank you, Sakutaro, but this is training to become a witch. I want to see how far I can go. The seven of them certainly do seem to be boisterous, but even if this is for training, having them with me will surely distract me from my loneliness at least a little. I understood it would be an ordeal, but wanted to give it a shot.
Don't overdo if it gets tough, okay? And everyone, if it looks tough for Angie, take it easy.
Certainly. Get it, everyone? Yes, One-sama! Well then, Angie. For now, we, the Seven Sisters of Purgatory, will become your furniture. Lady Maria, if you would.
Yeah! So, Angie, can we start?
Sure. I'm a little nervous.
This might be tough all of a sudden, but if you feel like you're getting a headache, lower your magic power immediately. Okay, I'll move the source of magic power over to Angie.
In an instant, the inside of my head felt very heavy. It's tough. Until then, the inside of my head had only been used for myself. It was almost like it was now being used for seven other people. If they just stood there and blinked once or let out a single sigh, I'd put out a strong pressure on my head. Lady Maria, my apologies, but perhaps the burden from all seven sisters at once might be too great after all. I'm okay.
No, it won't work after all. You're just using all of your energy to materialize them. There's no point if the burden is such that you can't balance it with your everyday life. And anyway, This is a bit unrefined for a witch. That's why I said doing so many suddenly was impossible. Everyone erase yourselves for a bit.
Right. It seems that it'd be better to lower the number of people. Asmo, erase yourself.
Me again? I'm opposed to the youngest sister bullying. Disappear start from the top every once in a while. That would be mean. I have to disappear second, right? No!
Don't make such a ruckus, Asmo and Levia. That kind of disturbance will become a burden to Angie. The noise you're making is also a burden, stupid Satan. Ugh. The seven sisters started arguing over who should erase themselves first. The energy from all that fight became a burden, forcing Angie to bear an even greater headache. In the end, they decided to order with rock, paper, scissors, and 1, 2, 3 of them disappeared. But even at that level, Angie was still far from comfortable. In the end, at least 6 of them had erased themselves, and I was finally able to calm my breathing. With my magical power, forget the 7 sisters. Just one person is my limit. Sheesh. This way it's not the 7 sisters, but just me, right? You're a bit unreliable, Angie. Mammon, who had won all the rock, paper, scissors matches, was permitted to remain until the end, grumbled.
Mammon, you shouldn't say things like that. Angie is still just starting her magic training. Are you alright, Angie? Is your headache okay?
Sakutaro stretched up on his tiptoes, trying to pat Angie's head. Watching this, Maria scratched her head, acknowledging that this sudden training had been too difficult.
Maybe that was a bit too much. I'd be perfectly fine with this much, though. The more friends you have, the more fun it is.
Now I'm even more aware of how incredible you are, Oni-chan. Apparently, when one reaches Maria's class, one can summon enough people to perform an orchestra. For a witch's apprentice, that's awe-inspiring. Are you okay, Angie? I'm sorry. It looks like summoning you is the most I can do. Well, I guess I'm okay with that. After all, of all the 7 sisters, I get Angie all to myself. What do you think, Angie? If it's just me, will it be a burden for you? No, I think I'll be able to manage you alone somehow. Great! Then please train a lot and cultivate your magic power a bunch. Then someday for sure, please bring the 7 sisters together and let us serve you. Promise? After confirming that for the time being her own materialization wasn't causing any issues, Mama immediately became very cheery again and tried to make me promise to work harder. I see. That definitely fits with her being greed. But maybe you could also call it having a positive attitude. Yes, I promise. I have to be able to do at least that much someday. Thank you, Angie! High Mammon of Greed will surely serve you until that day! My headache finally abated, and I relaxed both hands, which had been clutching at my head. Then Mammon stuck out her hand, helping me stand back up.
Maria, Angie, it's about that time. If we don't return to the room, you'll be scolded.
Huh? Oh, I hadn't expected Sakutaro to talk about the time. I was brought back into reality. As though the light had disappeared, the vast world sunk into the darkness. I was in a tiny, tiny bathroom stall sitting on the toilet. One-chan's grimoire was open on my lap. I looked at the clock. It was almost 20, time for lights out. If I show up late for roll call before the lights out, not only will things get pretty annoying, but it'll cause trouble for my roommates and floor mates. I couldn't care less about causing them trouble, but I don't want them messing with me later. My free time by myself is already over for today. I'll sleep, wake up, tomorrow will begin another long, long gray-colored day will repeat again. I closed the grimoire and rose up from the toilet seat. At that time, One-chan appeared again and spoke.
Hey, Angie! You're forgetting your training. Take Mammon with you.
I'd forgotten. The moment I returned to reality, Mamon's materialization had stopped. One more time, I created a strong image of the existence of Mamon in my mind. Sheesh, you're so mean, Angie. Why'd you erase me so suddenly? At this rate, you won't be able to call all 7 sisters easily. I'm sorry. I got careless. It's been incredibly long since I've materialized in the human world, so I'm interested in absolutely everything. I'm getting a bit excited. Where is this? The St. Lucia Academy dormitory. I messed up. Let's try again. The St. Lucia Academy dormitory. This is a stall in the shared bathroom. Each room has its own bathroom, so no one comes here. It's quiet and perfect for reading books. So in this dorm, you have to hide in a toilet stall even to read a book? Do they burn books or something? I have a 2-person room, so my roommate is always there. Our relationship is gloomy, and it always seems like I'm getting ignored. The atmosphere is bad, so I can't really relax there, and as long as I'm not there, she can do what she likes and call her friends over and chat away. It's more convenient for them too if I don't return until just before lights out. There's also a library, but there's a group that uses it as a meeting, and they're always talking behind my back. Wow, sounds like they don't have a life, so I don't like to go there. During lunch, it's the bushes behind the school building. During the night, it's a stall in the shared bathroom in the dorms. Those are the only hideaways where I can find peace. I opened the door to the stall and went out. I turned around, signaling with my eyes for Mamon to come with me. I don't really get it, but I realized it would be hard to call this place pleasant for you, Angie. Let's go out quickly. I hate the air here. Really? I think the air here is the most decent. When I left the bathroom and entered the corridor, because it was near lights out, several kids who had gone to play in other rooms were dashing back into their own. When it came time for lights out, we had to change to uniform pajamas that we hated and called prison clothes, line up in the hallway, and go to the dorm leader's roll call. On the off chance that someone was late, we would take collective responsibility, and all the floor mates would have to undergo punishment in the form of volunteer work. As long as I avoid this, the girls who would look at me coldly, but they wouldn't get in my way. That alone was enough for me. Mamon looked at the passing kids and the furnishing of the dorm with interest. Without paying her any particular attention, I hurried back to my room. In my front room was my class roommate, who had already changed to her prison clothes, chatting with some kids from the room next door. When they noticed me hurrying back, the topic of their conversation noticeably changed. They lowered their voices, stealing glances at me. I acted like I didn't notice and went into my room and changed. Then I hastily went out into the corridor. Everyone was already lined up. Hey, this is weird. I thought this was a school for rich girls. It's like a prison. It's stupid. You think so too? That's what I think. And unlike prison, you don't get out early for good behavior. After bad-mouthing the place, I noticed something. Having someone to listen to your complaints feels surprisingly good. Fortunately, Mamon's form can only be seen by her summoner, me. And of course, there was no need to speak out loud for this conversation. All I had to do was speak inside my mind so no one could listen in. Magic and the friends it creates might actually not be so bad. I know, right? All these people are sheltered brats. Feels like they aren't even alive. Stop it. If you're seen by chance, it'll be pretty bad, right? Humans without a fragment of hopes and dreams are like a lump of anti-magic. There's no way they'll be able to see me. You lower life forms can't even see. Are you okay being around so many humans with that magic-resisting toxin? I'm fine as long as you continue to make me materialize, Angie. Although, since you'll probably have to keep concentrating to materialize me, there's a chance you'll neglect your daily life. Look, that girl you're sharing a room with is calling you, right? Huh? Oh. Ushiromiya, are you listening? About our weekly duties starting next week. She's probably trying to push a few more chores onto me. My roommate, who never even looked at me in the eye normally, was smiling at me unpleasantly. But it'll be easier to have the weekly duty pushed onto me alone, rather than doing it together with her. That's a small price to pay to have her continue to ignore me non-stop. Even so, with a completely shameless excuse, she sidestepped the issue for some reason and insisted on flipping the situation around, as though I should have come forward and done it of my own initiative. One of the special traits of this academy is it's full of girls who don't know how to ask for a favor. That kid. She pisses me off. I'd love to just gouge her right in the forehead. Yeah, I hope you do one of these days. Yeah, having a friend nearby all the time to complain to makes me happier than I thought it would. It really was lively with all the 7 sisters gathered together. I'm sure just watching them mess around will be a lot of fun. I wanted to gain enough magical power to summon all the 7 sisters at once and soon, so I'll train much, much more. And finally summon the thing I really wanted to find. What is it that you really want to summon, Angie? Mama noticed my conversation with myself inside my head and asked about it blankly. I hesitated to talk about it, but then figured that there was no reason to hide it and told her. My family. Dad, Mom, Oni-chan. So you mean the souls of the dead? Calling a resident of another world is summoning, but calling back the souls of the dead is called resurrection, and they're completely different. Resurrection is supposed to be a very high-level magic. I know. So much so that even Maria can't do it at all. But that's the thing I want to find with magic. The most. I've been warned that it's very difficult, high-level magic. So great in the worst case, I might not necessarily reach that point even after training for my whole life. Furthermore, I have no vessel. A vessel is vital for making magic succeed, whether it's summoning or resurrection. Because I don't have that, a magic that would already have been difficult is now hopeless. That's right. I have nothing to remember Dad or Mom by. However, by extraordinarily coincidence, I do have something to remember just Oni-chan by. And that's this. Angie's goal. Gosh. That hair accessory with the pink jewel? What the hell? I hate to say, but it looks a little cheap for you, Angie. Long ago, without telling Dad, I went with Mom to meet Oni-chan, and we went to play at an amusement park. This is a prize from the crane game there. I know it's cheap. I realize that it doesn't match my style. I get that it's too childish, but this hair accessory is the only thing that makes me feel as though Battler is by my side. The glass case had been filled with plastic capsules packed with fun-looking things. It seems that each capsule had some cute accessory in it. That game was to grab those with the crane, but I was young and it was too hard for me. I tried it several times, but I didn't even get close. Mom said that whatever was inside was probably cheap anyway, and we didn't even know what we'd get, so there was no point in getting all upset over it. But whether it was something cheap or not wasn't the problem. The process of grabbing happiness with my own hands really felt important and sacred to me, so I wanted the cheap thing inside more than anything. Then Battler came over after finishing a game of shooting soldiers with a gun. Hey, remember this design of Angie that when she's younger. It'll be important for episode 5. And try to do it for me. With his arms that were longer than mine, Oni-chan grasped the happiness that I couldn't reach. Oni-chan was really coordinated. It seemed he often played with his friends at the arcades. Only after 1 or 2 attempts, he grasped that thing on the other side of the glass with the crane I hadn't been even able to touch, and threw it onto the exit chute. When Oni-chan tossed me that capsule, I remember he looked very, very reliable. For several days, I felt like opening the capsule would be a waste. And then one day, I finally opened it up, and what revealed itself inside was this pink jeweled hair accessory. Since that day, it's been a symbol for Oni-chan. Since I was young, I felt that having all 4 of us gathered, including Battler, was a precondition for a happy family. So I wanted Oni-chan and Dad to make up quickly. In my own way, I treated this hair accessory as a charm for bringing my whole family together. So I always used to wear it. I wanted to feel my reliable, fun, and wonderful Oni-chan by my side all the time, and let him live in our house. But my memories of Oni-chan are very distant. I can't do it as easily as Maria created Sakutaro from a lion stuffed animal. One day, I'll surely possess the high-level magic to revive the souls of the dead. And the only key, the only vessel that can make me successful is this. I see. I did feel an incredible magical power from that hair accessory, so that's what it was. Magical power? There's magical power in this thing Oni-chan gave me? Maybe I should say that it resides in you, Angie. Your strong desire to call your brother gives you magical power. Resurrection certainly is a high-level magic, but there can be no mistake that you're steadily and unconsciously climbing the stairs towards it. I'm glad. It's nice to hear someone other than myself acknowledge that. Your own effort isn't something that you can observe by yourself. In that sense, even though these words came from a shady demon girl who controls one of the 7 deadly sins, they made me very happy. Well, I can't guarantee that you'll obtain the resurrection magic before your life is over. However, your power as a witch is proportional to the height of the mountain that you dare to climb. If you don't lose heart, I'm sure you'll rival even our former master Beatrice as a great witch someday. I wonder if I can. I wonder if I can become a great witch and revive Oni-chan. No, my family. The Witch of Resurrection, Lady Angie. Wonderful! A Witch of Resurrection is a very rare kind of witch. Having a master like that would make me pretty proud. Actually, I'd love for that to happen, because furniture's worth is also proportional to the class of its master. Please pass Beatrice up and become a peerless great witch. As a representative of the 7 Sisters of Purgatory, I'll support you from the bottom of my heart. I thought that if a magical friend were to appear for me too, a cute kid like Sakutaro would be best. But even this 5th sister of the shady 7 sisters who controlled the 7 deadly sins was enough to calm my heart so much all by herself. Maria was probably known that since long ago. That's why she recommended the world of witches to me over and over and over again. I kept on stubbornly rejecting her. I should have given in and started my training as a witch sooner. A year for a child is worth 10 years for an old person, right? Now that I find my past self, which only ever complained, deplorable for wasting my precious time. Long ago I turned off the lights and slipped into bed. Mammon continued to talk to me alongside my pillow. I promise, one day for sure, I'll develop a magical power that can summon the 7 sisters, and I'll let them have a lively and fun time. The 7 of them make a single whole. None can be left out. Family must be together. I must bring them together. My awareness began to return slowly. Unable to stand watching Aunt Rosa and Maria's relationship, I ran away from Beato Oni-chan's game, didn't I? I've got to go back. I've got to go back and support Oni-chan and bring him quickly from the strange world from the witch's game. After all, as long as I'm here, I'm not allowed to call myself Angie. At that time, I felt someone's presence. When I turned around, I could see Mammon there. Gretel! Beatrice said that if you do not return soon, it will become a hindrance to the progression of the game. I beg that you return swiftly. Thank you. I'll go back now. Isn't it great? What is? That you were able to meet Balor. Is that sarcasm? Well, if that's how it sounds, feel free to call it that. I'm sorry. I should have taken it literally. Yeah, you're right. Even in this screwed up world, being able to meet Oni-chan makes me happy from the bottom of my heart. And you'll win against Beatrice for your Oni-chan's sake? Yes. Can't have him playing around in a world like this forever. It's about time for him to return home. That's why I came to call him. Please do the best you can. Although I can't support you since my current master is Beatrice. I know. Until October 5th, 1986. You're Beatrice's furniture, and eventually you'll become my friend. But eventually you'll throw that friend away. After all... Mama moaned as if she bit her tongue, staggering as she clutched her chest. A Apparently, the rules apply to other people other than me as well. Are you okay? It's pretty painful. Excuse me, Gretel. No, thank you. I'm glad. Glad I was able to meet Oni-chan. That's my answer to your first question. Well, let's go back. If I grumble too much, you'll get in trouble with your current master. Yes, I'm glad you understand. Well then, Mammon? Huh? I'm sure Mammon was about to say well then this way, but then she stopped, as though the film had been torn off at that point. It looked like she suddenly froze. Then I noticed she wasn't the only thing that had frozen. Even the air and floating bits of dust had frozen in place in the empty space. A world where even time had froze. Yes, this looks like a portent that Burnt Castle will appear. But the atmosphere was different somehow. Then I understood. It wasn't Burnt Castle. It was the other witch.
How are you feeling, Angie?
Lambda Delta. The rules don't apply to you, do they?
Of course not. Rules exist to bind others. What kind of idiot would bind themselves with them?
Burnt Castle is a witch who supports me, but this girl is different. This girl supports Beatrice. In other words, she's a being on the opposing side. But there's some kind of difference between her and Beatrice. Even compared to Burnt Castle, there's something strange about Lambda Delta's existence. It's... how should I put it? Maybe she's like a being from a higher dimension. Oh, hey! Wait until we see Kikonia! In any event, I was still unsure about how to deal with her. The only thing that was certain was that she was my enemy. No, just knowing that might be enough, but... So, do you have some business with me?
Not really. When I listened in on your conversation, it started to get a bit interesting. I thought I'd let you hear something good.
You're supposed to be my enemy. I can't think of a reason for you to tell me something that helped me. So the moment I start listening to you, I lose. See. Wait. Oops, my bad. Bye. See you next time.
Don't misunderstand. My opponent is Burn, not you. In other words, it's possible for there to be a topic that benefits both you and me.
Sorry, but I don't feel like listening. Although I said that, I probably won't be released from this frozen time until Lambda Delta is satisfied. This itself might be proof that she's in a higher dimension than me. I hadn't even been given the option of not listening to her. All I can do is try not to be shaken by anything she says and strengthen my mental guard. She'll probably try to make me believe something disadvantageous to me, threatening me.
There's no need to square off like that. I just came to resolve your misunderstanding. No, that's not quite it. I came to let you know about the lie Burnt Castle told you.
Burnt Castle lied.
Didn't Burn make it sound like your big brother would come back if you defeated Banto?
Who knows? I don't feel like talking with you. My brother coming home. I hadn't been promised anything that dreamlike. Getting just one person only if I was lucky had been a promise without very high hopes. But that's enough for me. After being promised an eternity of isolation, having a faint but still non-zero chance was like a shining beacon.
In a way, that promise of Burn's wasn't a lie. If Burn promised, then I'm sure you'll defeat Banto, Battler and your parents will be released and come back to you.
Then there's no problem.
Seriously? That kid is surprisingly cruel. To think that she'd deceive you, even though she knows.
How are you saying I was deceived? Damn, I'm letting her take the initiative. But I won't be released until I lend an ear to her, so it's something I'll have to hear anyway. Even though I realized I was falling into a trap, I urged her forwards.
What year is it now?
You're talking about the world of the game board? In that case, it's October 4th, 1986.
That's right! So if you win against Banto, then on October 6th when the typhoon passed, the people who were trapped on the island will return. On October 6, 1986, that is, right?
So what?
How was your October 6, 1986? You were at your relative's house, right?
I've been at the house of the only Sumadera my mother trusted, Grandpa. We got a call. When I was playing with building blocks in the tatami room, we got the call. After watching to make sure that I remembered, Lambda Delta laughed unpleasantly and spoke.
Hey! On October 6, 1986, did Balor come home?
Even though I didn't understand what she was saying, I noticed an unpleasant sweat sweeping out my face. I don't get it. I don't get it. What is this witch saying?
See? If you defeat Beto, Balor will certainly be released, and he'll probably return home. To his home in 1986. After all, that's how it is, right? Balor was locked up from the 4th to the 5th of October in 1986. It's only natural that he returned the next day if he were to be released, right? And you? You're a person from the year 1998. You're Ushiromiya Angie of the year 1998, where Balor did not return. Know what that means?
What are you talking about? If my family came back home on October 6th, wouldn't that be wonderful? I'd come home from Grandpa's house right away, and then we'd meet. Everyone would be happy.
Yes! Ushiromiya Angie probably would be reunited with her family. The 6-year-old Ushiromiya Angie from 1986 would, right?
Who am I?
Ushiromiya Angie, an 18-year-old one. No, that's not it. You aren't Ushiromiya Angie. You're the witch's piece with that name. Strictly speaking, the name Angie Beatrice belongs to a completely different person. Know what that means?
I don't really get it anymore. Huh? Who am I? Huh?
And that's why I think Burn's cruel. No, I think she's a meanie. Especially since it's not like she hasn't gone through the same thing herself.
Am I being tricked somehow?
Yeah, but please don't blame Burn, okay? After all, depending on how you look at it, that kid isn't lying. If Beto's defeated, your family will be returned. Returned to Ushiromiya Angie. But she probably didn't say that this Ushiromiya Angie would be you, right?
Was it like that? Was it like that? What did Burn Castle say to me again? Your assistance is required. Your family needs it. Burn Castle starts by saying that. Then I spoke. If I save them, does that mean my family will come home? And how did Burn Castle answer that again? I cannot promise that. She did make me a promise in exchange for accepting this fight. Yes, this is what she said. In exchange, I will search for a fragment with the ideal world that you wish for. A world where your family comes home. Yeah, that's right. She didn't say anything more that she searched for it. She didn't say that she'd find it, but I was prepared from that from the beginning. But even so, that child promised that as long as I didn't give up, there's a faint chance of it happening. And in the end, she said this. I'm giving you a chance for revenge. In exchange, I promise to search for and bring you the happiest resolution among the possibilities you're capable of accepting. I've known it was a tough bet from the beginning. After all, I have no family in my 1998, even if just a small chance of shaking that absolute zero would be worth it. I was warned beforehand that even if I succeeded in my revenge, it might be a wasted effort. So,
Yeah, there's no lie in that part. Beato's game board is perfect. Even having you around makes the chances of Beato losing so slim that it's doubtful you could even dream of it happening once in your life. In other words, your chance of winning is almost zero, so absolutely that it could be regarded as infinitely close to zero. So Burn can be forgiven for saying that part in such an evasive way. But I can say for sure that she was tricking you when she let you get your hopes up. After all, even if you could overcome astronomical odds and win, the person your family will come back to isn't you. It's the 6-year-old Angie that exists in this 1986, the true Ushiromiya Angie. Not you. Burn will probably still go around billions of fragments searching for the best world for you, But didn't she tell you that she planned on bringing it to you as a present but wasn't able to find it?
She did.
You're finally starting to notice, aren't you? No reward has been prepared for you in this battle. No, to the contrary, when smashed, Beato's game board will disappear. Then you, as a piece, will disappear. The sort of goal you'd be capable of accepting is completely... No. I'll proclaim it upon my name. Upon the name of the Witch of Certainty, Lambda Delta. I proclaim that it certainly doesn't exist.
That can't be.
That's what Byrne lied about. Or should I call it speaking in riddles? She made you misunderstand that you could be saved. I came to clear that up.
In other words, no matter how hard I fight, no matter how hard I pursue victory, my family won't come back to me?
Right! They won't come back! With certainty. The Witch of Certainty says it with certainty! Isn't this incredible? Several ancient kings have dedicated historical values to me because they wanted me to give them certainty. And here I am, graciously giving it to you as a present. Isn't this really incredible, cute, and marvelous? But I have a single good proposition for you.
Damn, I'm getting completely overwhelmed. I knew I shouldn't have listened, and now I'm starting to be overwhelmed by this witch Lambda Delta.
My opponent is Byrne, not you. Didn't I just say it's possible for the two of us to talk about something that benefits us both? I've said that from the beginning, so listen to me. You have no choice.
Okay. I'll listen. I've just gotta listen, right? I finally lost control over my emotions and explode from the inside. I don't have a clue anymore. I believe that I was Angie, but at some point I stopped being Angie. That's right, I'm Angie, not Angie. Who am I? I'm not my parents' child nor my brother's little sister. I'm just a piece in a witch's game.
There's no need to be so pessimistic. I mean, think about it, okay? Right now you're together with Valor. While it's true that you can't tell him your name, at least you're positioned as his ally in the game where he battles a witch. And you're able to be with him for all eternity. Know what that means?
I can't stand it, but I understand. In other words, as long as Oni-chan keeps getting a tie in this game, it will continue forever. Continuing the tie means continuing the game for eternity, and it means that I can remain with Oni-chan as a piece. But if Oni-chan wins or loses, the curtain closes on the game.
You as a piece will disappear. How do you define happiness for a game piece? Getting used by someone playing the game and nothing more. You won't find it when the game's shut in a closet gathering dust, right?
In the past, the Seven Sisters of Purgatory said it as well. Virtuous happiness comes from being used, not being stored away. That's right. I'm now the witch's furniture.
Let's change things around a bit. To be honest, I want this game to continue in a tie for all eternity. An unending game is an eternal cage. An absolute closed room that never opens for all time. And that'll finally make Byrne surrender. You know, Beto does want to win a bit. Victory by making Valor surrender. But that's actually a problem for me. After all, if the game ends, the closed room will fall apart. So I'll go easy on Valor a bit to stop him from surrendering. Don't worry, okay? When Valor's about to surrender, I'll become his ally. But you know, I get the feeling that Beto is faintly starting to realize. I think she's starting to realize her victory won't come for all eternity in this game. But she is, of course, the Endless Witch. Beto's stupid, so she optimistically thinks that even so, she'll surely win eventually. Like she has to repeat this game on and on endlessly. Of course, pretty much all blondes are morons.
In this game of witches, there will never be a victory or a loss.
I won't let her win, and I won't let her lose, with certainty. Burn noticed that, so she looked for the most powerful piece for breaking the deadlock, found you and threw you in. To make this game end, you see.
To make this game end.
What's a piece's role when the game ends? I'll state it clearly. Your existence is a contradiction. Your reason for existing is to bury yourself in darkness and despair.
My goal is to defeat Beato and release my captive family, and yet, even if I succeed, I won't be rewarded.
You cannot lose, and you won't be rewarded if you win. So I brought you a third choice, and that choice will be to make our interests coincide.
Continuing the tie for all eternity.
Yes! As long as the tie continues forever, this world will not crumble. What is this world? It's the world of Game of the Witch. A world where Beato and Balor fight for all eternity. And at the same time, it's a world where you get to be with Balor for all eternity.
My head was spinning. That confusion became a hot liquid. I felt it pouring from my eyes. It was so hot, it felt like it burned my face.
Right? Angie Beatrice? Since Burn Castle's goal is to end the game and end the world where you and Balor can interact, why should you be her ally? That kid tricked you see. She made it look like you might be safe if you became her piece. But I won't deceive you there. So I'll say it, Angie. Become my chess piece. Unlike Burn, I won't offer you rewards based on lies that will certainly never be granted. As long as you become my piece and help me so that this world certainly never ends. Then with certainty, I'll swear upon my name that this world will certainly continue. That's not all. I'll add on a bonus. This rule that binds you, I'll clear it away for you. Well, of course, I'll only do it after you swear to become my piece, okay?
In my own throat, there was a thick gulping sound. I shouldn't have listened. If I hadn't listened, I would have remained an innocent little sister praying for my brother's victory. But I might be different now. I might have degraded into the witch's furniture, one that cares nothing but being by Oni-chan's side.
I'm not telling you to betray your brother, okay? It looks like Balor's going to lose. You can save him with all you've got. On the other hand, when Balor's close on Beato too much, I want you to hold back a little. That's all I'm saying, alright? Don't worry. There's no need to actually betray Balor. Balor can't actually win against Beato alone. That's why Burn threw you in, you see. As long as you don't lend Balor a hand, Balor will be unable to win against Beato for all eternity. See? It's really simple, isn't it?
Oh man. Okay, that's enough reading for today. That's enough. That's a lot of reading. Oh, there's more people to read. Let's go over there. Let's see. Professor Otsuki. A professor at a certain college, well known as an authority on the subject of Western folklore. He's also famous for his hobby of researching Rokkenjima witch legend as one of the witch hunters. The primary focus of the witch hunt is passing together the cult stories to try to make them match with the Rokkenjima incident, making it a much more mental game for the dilettantes and enthusiasts of the mystical than a scientific investigation into the truth of crime. Okay. Any other things? Nope. Okay, well, I am finished. Thank you. I will go now. Good night.